Hey, this is Dr. Priyanka Venugopal, and you're listening to the Unstoppable Mom Brain Podcast, episode 48. I'm back on another walk, and so if you hear the occasional child playing in the background, a car passing me, or I think some of you picked up the last time I did this, some birds chirping, then I apologize if the noise bothers you, and you're welcome if you don't mind it and you enjoy it. A few of you reached out to me and said that you really did enjoy hearing some of the birds in the background, so I'm glad to accommodate because I felt really inspired to really just bring you on my walk. And if you want to actually be on this walk with me, you can actually go over to the unstoppablemombrain.com/48 and watch the video and come physically on this walk with me. We can chit chat together and talk. And today we are talking all about how to create momentum. This has been a topic that I have really been thinking about so much. It's been something that I have been sharing with my email list. It's been something that I wanted to talk to all of you about because I think this is such an important topic. So that is what we're getting into in today's episode. So one of the biggest things that I have personally experienced, and one of the things that I think many of you probably experience, is when you get into a rhythm with your routine, when you get into a rhythm with maybe you're following your plan and you're going to the gym and you maybe feel like you are in a kind of a way of being into your schedule where you're starting to see changes happen for your body, maybe on the scale, you're feeling really good, you feel like you have gained momentum. And I think that the most common times that we experience that feeling where we have quote unquote momentum is usually after we experience a big burst of motivation. So I think New Year's is a very typical example, a very common time that so many of us, January 1st, New Year's, maybe it's your birthday, maybe it's a special event, something very specific. There's a tangible date in the book on the calendar that you're feeling that gust of motivation. So let's just use New Year's because that's kind of what inspired this episode. We get really excited. January 1st or your birthday has rolled around. It's okay, this is the year, we're going to handle it. And we feel that gust of motivation. I want to call that activation energy. Okay. So just remember, we're doing an episode today. You're coming along for my walk. I don't have my streamlined notes because, B- work. If you didn't catch that episode, go back and watch a couple episodes ago, B- work. I talk all about it. This episode is going to be a little rambly. We're going to go all over the place, but I promise you we're going to come back to the main point. I wanted to define what I call activation energy. I think about activation energy as that burst of motivation. It is how you feel Monday morning, New Year's Day, your birthday. You feel that gust and it's okay, this is the day. This is the week, this is the year. You have that thought in your mind and you feel, we're going to call it activation energy in your body. You feel inspired, you feel activated, you're ready to take you're ready to show up very actively in your game plan, right? So what do? You feel this burst of motivation, and what we typically do is we make some pretty amazing plans. Maybe we break out the spreadsheets, color-coded plans, and then we start planning for how we are going to create the big goals, right? So if this year, you want to reach your ideal weight, you want to drop 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 50 pounds this year, you have a vision for how you might do that. You start making plans. And typically when you're feeling that burst of motivation, that activation energy, you start following through. So it's not surprising that for a few days, a few weeks, even a few months, you start to really see change. Now, I'm going to tell you, this works, right? That feeling of motivation is going to inspire you to take action. You are definitely going to feel a shift in how your body feels. You're going to see the number on the scale go down. Your clothes are going to fit better. You're going to feel better in your body, specifically because you're taking action. Now, what ends up happening, and I'm curious if some of you have experienced this, but what typically happens is we, at some point along the way, stop feeling motivated. How many of you have felt that, right? So you feel January 1st, I'm curious. I'm recording this episode, it's February, I think 18th or 19th right now. How many of you feel the same motivation that you felt December 31st or January 1st, that first week of January. I'm guessing most of you, I'm not going to say all, I'm sure there's some of you that still feel it, but many of you don't feel the same excitement and motivation that you felt that first week of January. And I wanted to tell you why that happens, and then I'm going to talk to you about momentum. And if I get a little out of breath, I sometimes will pause because I don't want to be huffing and puffing in your ear, but I might be already. So coming back, we feel that burst of motivation Monday morning, New Year's Day, birthday, and you feel activated, you start showing up. What I want you to know is that activation energy is short-lived. Let me just say that again. Activation energy, Monday morning motivation, New Year's Day motivation, birthday motivation is short-lived. Let me tell you why. The reason that motivation is short-lived, and my clients have heard me say this, it's poor quality fuel to drive you to take action, is because not every day of the week is Monday. Not every day of the year is New Year's Day. Your birthday is one out of 365 days. So it's not surprising when you wait for the Monday morning, the New Year's Day, or the birthday to feel the gust of motivation. It's not surprising that starts to fade, because Tuesday afternoon, you're not going to feel Monday morning fresh start, right? February 18th or February 25th, you're not going to feel January 1st's fresh start, right? So I want you all to just know, moving forward, if you're waiting for that fresh start, that gust of motivation, I just want you to know now, forevermore, that activation energy is meant to only be activation energy. It's not meant to be your sustainable source to drive you to take action on a daily basis. I'm pausing here to catch my breath because I just went up a really steep hill. Okay, so coming back, let's talk a little bit about what do you do then? What happens then? What gets in the way of sustaining activation energy? What's in the way that gets in the way of your momentum? So I want to kind of share with you my personal example of what really happened in my real life. And then I want you to take from it and ask yourself how this applies to you. Okay, this is going to apply to you in some way, shape, or form. For me, my personal goal this year, as I've been sharing, is to get stronger in my body. I want to get more fit. I want to grow more muscle. I want to get lean muscle. I want to feel stronger. I want to feel like I can go up this hill and not be out of breath. That's my goal, my friends. I want to go up this hill and not be out of breath. That is not the case right now. That is my goal. By the time I turn 40, it's happening in May. That's my goal. I'm going to be bringing you all along, and we're going to just do a little test together. Is Priyanka still out of breath when she goes up this hill? That's how we're going to know. Your goal might be to get stronger in your body. Your goal might be to lose 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. You decide what is your goal. Now, what happened for me is in January, I got super excited. This is the year I'm turning 40, right? You can feel the activation energy. This is the year I'm going to do it. And I made a very serious plan, as anyone knows me, color-coded, the whole thing. I had a game plan. I knew what days I was going to work out lower body, upper body. I kept it simple. I felt so good about it. And let me tell you, for 2 weeks, I took such solid action. Here's the beauty. While I was taking action, at the end of every day, at the end of every week, I would think, wow, look at me go. How amazing how amazing am I for following through on my plan? Look at how, this is where I was like, look at the momentum. And every day, here's the coolest part about momentum is it didn't feel so hard for me to throw on my sneakers or pick up the dumbbells. It didn't feel like such a big feat. I was like, oh, of course this is what we do. It felt so easy. It felt so simple. And what was amazing for those 2 weeks is that I could feel my body getting stronger. I felt sore the next day. I could feel myself really feeling good and strong in my body, okay, for 2 weeks. That lasted a whole of 2 weeks. So let me tell you what happened then. What happened was a tough night. My son went to sleep really late. I kind of got woken up a couple of times. I think I might have even caught, like, if my voice is still sounding kind of raspy, it's like I feel like I've just been recovering from something that I caught from the kids. And I noticed the next morning, it was like a weekend. I was like, first of all, I don't work out every single day. This is going to be one of my days off. No big deal. I didn't make it mean anything. It was not a problem. But I noticed that day, I was like, didn't work out. Okay. The next day, I was like, I'm still feeling kind of tired. I'm still kind of feeling like I could do with another rest day. Okay, not a big deal. It's another rest day. Then Monday rolls around. So now I've skipped 2 days after having done 2 weeks of like really consistent follow through on my action plan. I skipped 2 days, basically a weekend, which again, on its own is not a big deal. But on Monday I was like, I do kind of have to catch up on these emails. And you know what? I did get a little bit behind with that thing on my task list. I am kind of falling behind on. All of a sudden, my brain started coming up with all of these other things that I could be doing instead of picking up the dumbbells for 20 minutes. For 20 minutes, my brain started negotiating. My brain started having a lot more back and forth. You know what? Maybe not. You've already missed 2 days. Maybe just one more day of rest. All of a sudden, before I knew it, 5 days had passed. 5 days. And I noticed this thought came up for me. And the thought was, you've lost your momentum. And I just loved that I had this experience, because I remember having this experience when I was losing the weight a few years ago. When I remember when I was tipping the scale, a little over 200 pounds, and I felt like, oh my gosh, there's so much weight to lose. I would feel so good when the number on the scale would come down. I felt like I had momentum. Look at it go. Look at me go, right? Remember those thoughts. Look at me go. I'm doing so great. I'm eating so well. My body is feeling so good. And then I would have a few days or a week where maybe I didn't eat on plan. Maybe I ate like crap food. Maybe I overate. Maybe I had an extra margarita and like the scale went up. I remember that I would have the same feeling that I'm describing right now, which is like, I've lost my momentum. Now, here's where I want to have all of you think about where this applies for you. There's a fork in the road. I want you to think about like that moment that comes when you have that thought, I've lost my momentum. There's a fork in the road. You can stay down and believe that your momentum is coming from following your plan. You can believe that your momentum is coming from the scale going up or down, that the momentum is coming from whether you lifted your weights or not. But that is not where your momentum is coming from. That's the other fork in the road. That's what I want to talk about. I want you to know that momentum starts in your brain. So what do I mean by that? I mean, momentum does not come from the number on the scale moving or how many dumbbells you can lift, how many reps you can do. That's not where your momentum is coming from. Your momentum is not coming from following your plan multiple days in a row. Momentum comes from a thought you have. So what that means, what that looks like is the thought that I had, which is I've lost all of my momentum. I had a subconscious thought underlying that, which is, it's going to be so hard to restart. And that thought, it's that thought that was actually zapping my momentum. So when I thought, it's going to be so hard to restart, I've already stopped for 5 whole days. I can't believe I let myself go off for 5 whole days. I was doing so great. Here's the other one. I was doing so great before. It was so easy before. Now it's so hard. All of that like story in my mind, the way that I was telling the story made me feel the emotion of discouraged, defeated, disappointed, despair. Do you guys remember the 4 Ds? If you have not listened to that episode, go back. It's an episode from December, cuddling your cuddle thoughts. It's titled something like your cuddle thoughts. So while you hold on to, it's so hard, I was doing so great, I don't know what happened, I can't believe, that thought, that flavor of story is why your momentum stays zapped. Okay? Here's the best news though. If your momentum is coming from your brain, if your momentum is coming from the way you tell the story, it means that you are in control of your momentum. not whether you followed your plan yesterday and not what the scale is showing. Your momentum is coming from your brain, which is such amazing news. I feel like people that are like looking out their window like, why is she gesturing so crazily? Because, you know, guys, if you're watching this, when I get really excitedly talking about a topic that I really care about, I become very animated. So if you're watching this, those are all my hand gestures. Okay, that was a tangent. So momentum is coming from your brain. So what I want you to first start with really thinking about is, how is your current thoughts, if you haven't been following your plan for the last few weeks or last few months, it's okay. I want you to just catch what are the thoughts you're telling yourself that is keeping your momentum zapped. It's going to be some flavor of those 40 thoughts. Like, I can't believe I was doing so great before, now I'm not. It's going to be so hard to get back started again, right? I want you to pick up on what those thoughts are. Write them down. Write them down. Become aware of the sentences that you're telling yourself. And just know, while you choose to tell yourself those sentences, you're going to stay zapped of your momentum. So good. How good is that? Can't we just this is just a mic drop moment. We could just end the podcast right here. Okay, I'm kidding. We're not going to end the podcast here. So let me move on. Next sentence, next point. So now we have uncovered what thoughts are zapping your momentum. For me, it was like, oh, I was doing so great. I even complained to my friend Ruth. Did you guys listen to that episode? It was Macros and Fitness with Ruth. She's my fitness coach. She's also a board certified OBGYN. She's literally a ninja fitness expert guru. She is like everything I ever need to know about fitness. She gets a little call from me. So I'm going to be bringing her back on the podcast because I think we have a lot more to talk about. But what I was going to tell you is that I was telling her like, oh, I was doing so great. I stopped. So she heard all of my thoughts. She was like, Priyanka, are you listening to yourself? I was like, yeah, okay. I hear it. I caught it. I'm catching it. And I can sense that keeping that story, if I kept that, I would just stay out of the game. I would just keep the lack of momentum. And I would feel like even if I did kind of work out, it would be kind of like half-ass. It'd be one of those like, yeah, okay, let me just do it. Like, when you take a half-ass action, it's because you haven't gotten your head back in the game. So let's talk about, how do you get momentum back? So first, we just covered to really identify what thoughts are keeping you out of your momentum, catch them, write them down, and become aware of them. Stop telling yourself those sentences. So that's it. Like, the minute you catch it, you've become aware of it, it's officially different. Now that you have observed those sentences, stop telling yourself those sentences. Instead, ask yourself, what is it that you would want to think? What is it that you would need to think to inspire you to take action today? Now, one of the things that I think is really helpful for me, and this is one that I come back to time and time again, and I want you all to think about what those sentences are for you, because they're going to be different, right? They're different for me. They're going to be different for you, is to remind myself about why this matters. So for me, it's my fitness goal. I have a certain fitness goal by the time I turn 40. For you, it's maybe a number on the scale, or how you want to feel in your body, or how you want your clothes to fit you. Think about your goal. Think about your goal. Don't forget it. And ask yourself, wait a second, why does this matter again? Why does this matter again today? You know, just that one sentence, for me, this matters. I don't curse on this podcast, but this expletive matters. You will feel that desire course through your body for why this matters. I want to be able to go up. Can you guys see, if you're watching this on video, like, this is a steep hill. I want to be able to go up this hill by the time I'm 40 and not be huffing and puffing. That matters to me. I want to be able to play with my children and run around with them and not avoid the soccer ball. Forget my kids. I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I want to be able to be 85 years old and picking up my groceries without having somebody help me. This matters to me. For me to get stronger matters to me. And just me remembering that, it creates this texture, this emotion in my body that inspires me to take action again. It doesn't have to be Monday morning or New Year's Day. It's like, okay, I skipped 5 days. I skipped 5 days because I was feeling kind of tired. I skipped 5 days because I let some excuses get in my way. I skipped 5 days because I let one day turn into 2, I let 2 turn into 4, and here we are on day 6. Okay, it's so good to know that I let that happen. It doesn't mean anything about me, but this matters right now. Let's go. And you will be surprised when you start talking to yourself in that way. You don't make those 5 days that passed or 5 months that passed mean anything about your skill or capability when you're like, oh, wait a second. Okay, we let one day become 5 become 10. Okay, it's okay. We simply forgot. We simply forgot about why this matters. Remember, this matters right now. That moment, I want you to know, when you start feeling that desire course through you, that commitment course through you, the best thing starts to happen. You start feeling inspired to take action again. And it starts small. So it started with me just doing 20 pounds, 20 minutes of lunges and squats with my 3-pound dumbbells. That's what I started with, 20 minutes. And you know what? There was a thought. I want you to know. There was a thought that was like, maybe I'm still too tired today. Even after all of this, maybe I'm still too tired. I was like, you know what? I can do it right now. I have 20 minutes right now. Let's just go. That activation energy. Let's just go. Let's just get started. It is something that can inspire you to keep taking more and more action. You don't ever have to wait for fresh starts anymore. And it's important to know that because there are very few fresh starts. There's only 52 Mondays in the year. Only one New Year's Day. There's only one birthday. So what we want to do is not rely on the calendar date of the week to create activation energy. I want all of you, I want my clients, I want all of us to know that activation energy is something we can turn on and off with our brains. We can tell ourselves, this matters today. Let's just get started. Let's just take action right now. Today matters. This matters. And I promise you, when you remind yourself of that and you just get started, you will feel so, so good. I felt so good. So I did my 20 minutes and I'm gonna pause here. We're going up another hill. I'm gonna pause here for a minute. So I did my 20 minutes. Let me tell you, that first minute was hard. Putting on the sneakers, I was like, oh, I am kind of tired still. Did a little bit of that. But then I was like, you know what? No, I have my 20 minutes. I put my sneakers on. I put my little 20-minute video, 20-minute app to follow. I not only felt so much stronger in my body after 20 minutes, I not only felt more awake and energized. Now, can I just say, I felt tired when I started because maybe I'm getting kind of sick. Maybe I'm getting over my cold. I have the sniffles. I was coming up with every reason to not work out, right? I felt stronger. I felt more energized. I felt more awake. I felt more alive simply from doing 20 minutes of something I said I was going to do. So there was the physical piece, the physical action of me moving my body, getting stronger, doing the lunges, my body physically woke up. But also mentally, my body mentally woke up. I started to remind myself, oh yeah, remember, we do what we say. It's gonna feel so good. I felt so proud of just doing it. I felt so proud of myself for just doing it. And what that did in that moment, when I reminded myself, this feels so good. It feels so good to honor what we say we're going to do. I got to remind myself that actually I am capable of following through, even in a moment that it feels hard. This is something that I want for all of us. All of us high-achieving working moms, we all deserve to have this skill in our back pockets all the time. Because I promise you, especially if you're a high achiever, if you're a working mom, you already automatically have 2 full-time jobs. You're a mom and you're working. I want you to know that life is going to be messy. There are going to be many, many imperfect moments. A weekend is going to happen. A week is going to happen. Months might pass you and you might have gained all the weight back. I don't care. What I want you to know is that it is all being controlled by your brain. You gaining it back or you falling off the quote-unquote wagon, however you want to put it, you losing all of that momentum happened because of how you were thinking. I want you to know that. You might not be aware of what you were thinking. That's okay. Work with a coach. But what I want you to know is that it happened because of the way you were thinking. And the best news is you can recover that and come back even stronger with the way that you're thinking. This is, to me, a superpower skill and tool. I just felt so inspired to talk about it, which is why I decided to huff and puff along with you to tell you, like, I'm back. I lost 5 days, but I didn't lose. I just want to say that again. I lost the 5 days, but I'm not making that mean that I lost anything. I think that that is something that especially high achievers struggle with. We think that if we don't follow our plan perfectly, if we fall off for a weekend, for a week, for a vacation, for a month, the scale goes up, or you stop following the plan, we think we've lost something. You haven't lost anything if you stay, if you pick it back up. I really like to say that the only time that you can ever really fail is if you want something, you stop doing it, and you stay stopped. That's the only time. Otherwise, let's just call it a pause. Okay? You want something, you have a goal for this year, you want to get stronger with me, let's do it. You want to lose weight? Let's do it. If you have paused for a week, a month, a year, call it a pause and start telling yourself something new that generates activation, energy, momentum, and just know it does not start with fresh starts. It starts with your brain. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode, coming along on this walk with me. It's been one of those fun ones. I think I'm going to be doing these a lot more. So I hope you enjoy these, because this really fits into me sharing sometimes, like, in the moment inspiration, what I genuinely feel is coming up for me in my life. I like to share with you in real time, because I think I can speak to that topic from so much more authenticity when I'm sharing with you my real journey, especially when I see a topic has affected some of you, my clients. I get to relive also when I used experiences when I was losing the weight. This exact principle, generating momentum coming from your brain, absolutely applied to the time that I was losing all of my weight, because there were plenty of times that I would fall off and things would plateau, things would go up, and that would be that moment that I could have taken one fork in the road and been like, see, there I go again, it's going back up, that's it, and then stay down. Or the other road, knowing that activation energy, reminding myself why this matters today. Today is going to impact tomorrow, and that's going to impact the next day. Reminding myself of that has been the greatest gift for me. And part of the reason that I'm going off on like a rambly tangent, but part of the reason that also really matters to me is because that has been something that I've really wanted to teach my kids, especially my son. I feel like I'm going to one day do a podcast episode on lessons that I've learned from my son. I know I did a podcast episode on lessons I'd learned from my daughter. It was like a little mini lesson for when she started school, but I have such a deeply heartfelt episode to record about my son, about my journey in being his mom, and the lessons I have learned. My goodness, the lessons I have learned because of him, the lessons I have learned from him, by him, all of it. I feel like so much more of a powerful human because of the lessons I have learned, because I've had to be his mom and I've had to navigate my own brain, my own limiting beliefs. It's been seriously the best journey, but the reason that this topic matters, is because he also gets to benefit from this work. Me learning how to navigate my brain, me learning how to catch the thoughts that keep me down and out, the thoughts that keep me disappointed, defeated, despair, discouraged. When I learn how to catch those thoughts, so does he. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. It was such a fun one for me to share with all of you, and I will catch you next week. Bye.